How to handle a resignation by a key player on your team. There's a very common fallacy stating that people don't quit jobs, they quit managers. And that's definitely the case in many corporations and large organizations with tens and tens and tens of thousands of people, tons of different management layers, a very rough process for defining who's the best fit for a role, and so on. Because managers are important, but at large organizations, they are crucial simply because there are so many people to be handled that someone simply needs to step up and start managing those people. And recent studies that I read about McDonald's and other fast food chains were that one of their main problems is actually finding supervisors and people who can actually run at least the operations at the fast food chain, right? Because it may seem extremely easy, but it isn't really a job that everyone's going to do. An MBA wouldn't really work at McDonald's for various reasons, and they pretty much have to promote some of their top staff working on the bar or in the kitchen or anything around those lines, and just promote them and give them the opportunity to move ahead. But it's really a hit or miss game, and it's really hard to make it work simply because of the nature of the business, of the brand, the reputation, and really the massive size of the company itself. So aside from bad managers, in smaller companies, that's not always the case. Again, inexperienced managers and founders and executives may certainly contribute to this, but according to a Gallup survey, here are the top reasons why people are quitting jobs. Number one is career advancements or promotion opportunities. That's pretty much almost a third of all respondents. 32% said that career advancements or promotional opportunities are the leading reason for quitting a job. Number two is pay and benefits, 22%. Of course, salaries and salary opportunities are really lucrative for various people, so that's definitely one of the leading reasons. Number three is the lack of fit to job, with about 20%, meaning that the person simply isn't a good fit to the job requirements and the job description. Number four, management or the general work environment, 17%. 5 is flexibility or scheduling, and 6 is job security at only 2%. So those are actually the leading reasons according to a broad Gallup survey. Additionally, Facebook published a popular article stating that their employees are quitting a job, not really quitting a manager. Especially in Silicon Valley, there's so many opportunities in a small condensed area that people are bouncing back and forth depending on various reasons. Again, some of those defined here, some of those related to pay or again career advancements or just working in a different team, department, and so on. So again, there are different contextual situations for different forms of businesses. But in order to move forward, we need to identify the three kind of stages of a key employee resigning. Number one is actually creating the leadership team and identifying that person as someone who's a part of the leadership team. Number two is working with the key player throughout the period of time in order to analyze what happened. And number three is handling the leave itself. So let's take a look at number one. One of the important things to figure out is why have you identified this person as a part of the leadership team, be it a team leader, an A player, a manager, or someone else whom you trust. It's important to understand that, and it's really something to figure out in terms of how to approach that for other people and how to assess the existing leadership team and see whether some of those issues may occur with that specific team as well, right? Because if someone leaves the company, there may be a reason that's pretty much just the same for others who may be inclined to leave the company as well, which is going to become more and more of a problem the more the people willing to kind of move out. So kind of as a result, identify what is the reason this person is part of the leadership team, how have you selected them, had they gotten the right onboarding and the right training, were they a good fit for the skills, or on the contrary, were they sticking to a certain role for a continuous period of time while they were supposed to get a promotion or move to kind of the next level of hierarchy and so forth? You just really need to identify those key areas. And of course, for new people, you need to follow the very same checklist and make sure that you're allocating the right type of work for the next person on the leadership team. Number two is working with the key player. Now, it's important to recognize the fact that some managers or executives or founders, whenever they find a great fit, they promote them, they give them a rough onboarding process, and then they expect to offload all the responsibilities to this person. And now, this may really be a double-edged sword, simply because people may not necessarily study the same way, they may not be comfortable with that specific process, they may need more time. There are tons of reasons for someone who has just been promoted to management or has become some part of the leadership team. When you allocate more responsibilities, they may actually crack under the pressure, they may drop productivity due to paperwork. You need to understand and analyze all that process, because when you do that, what will happen is essentially you are probably going to find some flaws that you may have corrected better, or some pieces in the onboarding process that could be applied in a better way, and essentially improving everything onwards. So identifying those, you're probably going to find some signals over the past 1 or 2 months or so, kind of helping you realize that the person is about to leave the job, but haven't had the conversation with you yet, or just haven't had an open conversation to try to sort things out. So being able to rectify these is always best. Normally it's already too late, but having contingencies in place, regular meetings and so on with the team is probably going to alleviate that, at least for future employees. Number 3 is handling the leave itself. Whenever the person is leaving, make sure you don't have too much stuff assigned to them, because they're probably already dissatisfied and demotivated and whatnot, and aren't really going to deliver the way they used to do when they were in their top peak. Distribute responsibilities, have everything very well documented in order to make sure that other people can follow the process. Ensure that your contract is solid. Now, it may seem stupid because it's a top performer we are talking about, but sometimes, depending on the grudge you're having, there may be some form of a backlash, or there may be something that you simply aren't expected, or there may be a very tough competing offer from your top competitor, which is pretty lucrative and it's worth, selling some data or whatever it is. So make sure that all of this stays as confidential as possible within your contracts, just to err on the safe side, because this may be the biggest culprit for you. Try to extend the duration of the leave if that makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes just letting people go right away makes sense, but for the most part, if you are parting ways on good terms, it makes sense for this person to improve documentation, help onboard other people on the team, prepare different checklists or whatever it is as a part of the offloading process itself. So those are the main things you really need to take care of. And again, what you really need to make sure that happens is that you are living on good terms. It's never good to burn bridges unless someone really violates ethical or moral rules or something along those lines. According to another survey, what are different categories of how employees resign? By the book, face-to-face meetings, I'm leaving with the letter and so forth, 31%. Similar per functionary, which is kind of a shorter meeting, just hey, just wanted to tell you I'm leaving, yada yada, 23%. Avoidant, 12.7%. Grateful goodbye with gratitude, it's about 10%. Bridge burning, 8.6%. This is important for you to note. In the loop, basically trying to contemplate quitting before formally resigning, kind of letting them know that something may happen, but they're not sure, it's about 7.9%. And impulsive quitting is about 6.3%. Now, the standard by the book examples are pretty straightforward, but again, what I'm going to remember is avoidant over 12%, bridge burning 8.6%, people who are almost rage quitting. Impulsive quitting 6.3%. So knowing all those numbers may help you understand statistics and help you reduce the chance that some of those things are going to happen within your organization.